Hi guys, today I'll be giving a really quick tutorial on how to use the in-game map editor for Ravenfield. I've only recently purchased this game, but I've noticed there isn't really much out there about the editor, and a few members of the community are struggling, so I thought hopefully this guide could come in handy. Firstly, you want to click the map editor and then create new. For the sake of this video, I'll just use one I'm working on. So when you create your map, you'll be met with this screen. Obviously it won't be looking like this because this is my map.
So sad.
You want to make sure that you start out with a small map because they are massive. They're a lot bigger than you think. I started with a medium map and I had to restart because it was too big. It took about 2 minutes to get from the spawn point to the middle section, which is way too long. Too ambitious. So when you first start, you want to be able to move the camera with W, A, S and D, Q to go down, E to go up. If you hold shift, you'll go faster. And then right click to look around. So at the top here we have all these options which are pretty self-explanatory. You can select props, move them, rotate them, make them bigger or smaller. But more importantly we have the terrain tool. So we have three options: raise, flatten and smooth. You can left click to raise and then hold control and left click to lower, and then control Z to reverse, undo your actions. To use the flatten tool, you want to firstly select a height by holding left control and left clicking, and then when you left click it should all be that level. And then the smooth tool, you want to make sure your brush size isn't too small, otherwise it won't work. But make it big enough and then you can just smooth off those jagged edges. And then once again Ctrl Z to undo. Here we have all the different textures that you can paint your floors. It's not too obvious, but if you left click it will select. Yeah, it could be more obvious, but if you left click you can then paint with that texture. In order to add a texture, you just click add and then call it whatever you want. Then from here you can choose any texture you want. For example, I don't know, rock red 2. You wanna, if there's an option to, you can add a normal texture, which just gives it more of a 3D effect when you put it down. Then click that new layer and increase that intensity and paint away. Next, most importantly, we have the assets menu, or the place menu. It's the same thing, but here you can plop down anything to decorate your level. Most importantly, we have the built-in type section where you can find all of the important assets to make your level work and to spawn in bots. So firstly, you want to plop down a capture point. For example, here's one here, and if the menu doesn't show up on the right, you can just click move and it'll pop up, which is a bit silly, and then select again. So we have different options here. You want to name them so that it shows up in the game, and then here we have the owner, which is who will own the flag at the start of the game. For example, this side's blue, this side's red, and in the middle we have neutral so that the two teams can fight over them. We have the protect range, which is the area in which the AI will defend the flag. Make that bigger or smaller, whatever you want. Capture range is the area inside the protect range which the enemies can capture the flag. The floor is how low they can capture it from, and the ceiling is how high they can capture it from. And then the capture rate is how fast they can capture that flag. I think the most important thing to remember is that if you're gonna then place things like spawn points, turret spawns, or vehicle spawns, like here we have a jeep, a tank, and then an anti-tank turret spawner, you want to make sure that they're within the protect range. Otherwise they will not spawn. So if I made this protect range smaller, then these turrets will not spawn when the game starts. So That's just a little tip. The same goes for these little spawn points here. Make sure they're within this protect range so that the AI can randomly spawn between these points. So once you've finished making your level and added all the props and the terrain and it all looks fancy how you want it, you want to then create a pathfinding box. Here's mine, and you want to make sure that it covers the whole map or the whole area where you want the AI to be travelling. Obviously if it's an indoor map it'll be different, but I don't really know much about that. So once you've made your pathfinding box cover the whole map, up and down, left and right, you have all these parameters here which will help determine the shape of your nav mesh. The nav mesh is extremely important because it shows the area in which the AI can travel. We can check that with this little box here. So once you clicked it, it'll take a while to generate. From here you can see the area in which they can travel. So it's all white, which means that the AI can travel in all of these areas, and the black sections means that they can't. If you press the right arrow you can see the same for the vehicles and boats, which don't apply here. But if yours is different colours, then it means the AI cannot travel between those different sections. So that could be either the terrain's too sharp, so you can lower that, smooth it out, or the box is not big enough. I noticed that if I make my box lower or smaller, some of these areas become inaccessible. So I made it as big as I wanted until it worked completely. So on the right here we have a bunch of parameters which will really affect the way your nav mesh is generated. For example, we have the cell size, which is the cell size used to scan for pathfinding, with the lower number yielding better nav meshes. However, it will take longer to scan, so just make that as low as you really want. The character radius is how big your characters are, how wide. So with a bigger number they may not be able to cross this bridge, so I just made that 1 so that they could access all the areas I wanted them to. The climb height is the number in meters in which the characters can climb. I think the highest is 2, so you want to change this number so that the AI can access areas that you want them to. So if I made this number smaller, then I'm sure a lot of these hills would become inaccessible. So you just click this button again to regenerate the nav mesh. Oh god, yeah, see? None of it's accessible. Yeah, and here we go, the colours. So this means that AI in this area cannot cross into that area, and so they'll just be stuck there. So we want to undo that, obviously. Cover point spacing is how often the game checks in meters for areas of cover. With larger maps you probably want that to be a bigger number so that's just quicker to load. And then the max slope is similar to climb height really. You don't want that to be too high, but you don't want it to be too low, otherwise they won't be able to walk up little hills. If you unclick tiled, then you get a more accurate nav mesh, otherwise it may just include random obstacles which you don't want. So once you have a working nav mesh and you want to upload your level to the Steam Workshop, you click level details, and here we have the neighbour screen which shows all of your capture points, and by clicking and clicking again you can set the direction which the AI will travel to each capture point. So you can make it one way or two way. This will change depending on the type of your map, so if you have a big island map you probably don't want them to just cross the water randomly. Unless you have boats, of course. The minimap shows the screen for the deploy section when you play the game, so you want to make sure that it covers the whole screen, or covers your whole map by adjusting these settings here. And then the scenery camera shows the thumbnail for your Steam Workshop item. Mine's pretty rubbish, but it does the job. Skybox is just, you can change the colour of the sky. And then validation shows any problems that are found within the map. You want to make sure that you've checked that there are no problems in your map at all. And then once you upload, make sure to scroll all the way down and fill in everything. I spent ages looking at the screen confused because I didn't scroll down far enough. So then once you're happy, click publish, and then it should be that. So in order to play your map or test it out, click custom maps, and it should be here. Here's one that I deleted earlier because that was the previous version which I wasn't happy with. But here's my final version, and then choose whatever you want, and then you should just click play. And here we are in my map. Pretty cool. Well, there we go. I hope this guide has been helpful to anyone, and if you like the music, then check the description down below, and that should be it. Thank you for watching. See you later.